Hi guys, and welcome back to Spoony Life Lover. I'm Chloe. Thanks for checking me out again. I hope you're all really well. As I said in my last video, you will have to forgive me if things are a bit amateurish, but I'm new at this, so please bear with. So today I am going to be filming my top 5 favourite authors of all time. Now this has been something that I have been really excited about filming ever since I even thought about doing a YouTube channel, and that is purely because I love reading. I am a total bookworm, bit of a nerd, love learning, love reading. It just does things to me basically. If you're new to this channel, I am a spoonie, which means someone who suffers from chronic illness, and I'm also a chronic pain warrior, so I'm in pain 24/7, 7 days a week, all the time, 365, you name it, I'm in pain. So I find for me myself that reading is a really big distraction for me, which is one of the reasons why I read so much. When I'm in pain, it allows me to not be Chloe anymore, but allows me to be the characters in that book. And I feel very lucky that I how can I put it, that I engage so well with these characters, and it does actually give me that escapism for a time. And I'm really grateful to these authors for that. So if you're not a massive reader but you've still checked out this video, then I'm really grateful for that. As I said, it is something that I've been wanting to do for 2.5 years, since, you know, I'm so excited about filming this today. You'll have to excuse the way that I look today, but I don't actually feel too good today. I'm in a lot of pain, but we're soldiering on and we're going to get this video done. So forgive me if I keep looking down, but I do have an abundance of notes written down. And I also have some books at the side of me which I will read out some blurbs to you, so it might be a bit of a long video, but just make yourselves at home, subscribe, thumbs up, all the rest of it. So let's get going. Also, you will have to excuse me if I reach for a drink, but I'm on a lot of medication and talking does make my mouth very dry. So that's the housekeeping done. Welcome to the Hotel Spoony Life Lover. Hope you enjoy your stay. So let's get going. So I've written these down in this order. They are not particularly, I wouldn't say that the first author is like my favourite, you know, like she is the one that I read and she is my favourite. They are all my favourite, but it's just the order that I've written them down in. So first of all, we're going to start with Rosie Goodwin. If you've heard of Rosie Goodwin, she is, most of these they write historic novels because that's the genre of books that I love to read. So 18, 19, hundreds on, the First World, the Second World War, the 50s, the 60s, those kind of, you know, time periods is what I really enjoy to read. So Rosie Goodwin has written, to my knowledge, a lot of books. I mean, I think it's going on 21 novels now. I think she's also adapted a Catherine Cookson as well, or rewritten a Catherine Cookson. On a lot of the reviews, she is dubbed the new Catherine Cookson. Never read Catherine Cookson myself, so I wouldn't know that. But one of the books that I did read of hers was this one, called Whispers. And this book is, I found this in a charity shop. I think I paid £1 for it. My mum actually read this before me, because me and my mum do love the same genre of books. But this book, like I say, I paid £1 for it, I read the blurb and I fell in love, and I knew I was going to really enjoy it. So on the front, it's got a little clip it here, so I'll read that to you. Sometimes the past really does come back to haunt you. That had me intrigued from the moment. And also the cover. There's a girl, an old house, like a cottage, and then that saying there, it really got me juices flowing, let's just say that. So on the back, and I'm going to read you the back. Rosie Goodwin, stories worth sharing. The old manor house has stood empty for years, left to rot since the master of the Phantom family died, until Jess Bedrose stepped inside and feels she's come home again. Again, against her family wishes, she buys the house, promising to bring it back to life. Upstairs, in the attic room, left untouched for a century or more, she finds a journal. It holds the heartbreaking tales of Martha and the cruel, entangled lives of the house's servants and the masters nearly 200 years before. As Jessie's drawn into the tragedy, the whispers begin, and before long, everything she loves is threatened by violent emotion and long-kept secrets. Can she survive the echoes from the past? So, to me, that just sounded like I wanted to just sit down in the charity shop and read it right there. That's how excited I was. So I bought it, I read it, I annihilated it in about a week and a half, and I loved it. I love this book so much that, like I say, my mum read it first, then I read it, then my dad actually read it as well, because it's a bit of a ghost story, if you couldn't tell from the back. Basically, she finds the journal of Martha. Martha is an old slave that was in the house, or servant, however you want to say it, and she records in her diary the goings on in the Phantom Manor, and she comes back to watch over, or however you want to say it, with Jess and her family, and things start going wrong. It is brilliant. Check out the reviews if you're interested in it, but I would highly recommend it. You know, check it out. Some of the reviews on the back, this is from the Historic Novels review. A touching and tender story, tremendously uplifting and life affirming, tugs at the heartstrings. Yeah, it is that. So this is Rosie Goodwin's Whispers. So like I say, check that one out. So that's one of my favourites from Rosie Goodwin. The second is The Empty Cradle. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that book, but if you Google it, or, you know, App Store it, you'll find it. Again, couldn't put it down. Probably read it within a week. It was really good. I loved it. It was really good, and it wasn't how I expected it to be, but it was brilliant. My second, on to number two, my second sort of favourite author, like I say, they're not in any order, is Lesley Pearce. If you've ever heard of Lesley Pearce, she is one of the best selling authors, along with Rosie Goodwin. She has written a lot of books. Again, I've read a lot of them. One of her newest books, I think this actually is her newest book. Sorry if you're shaking a bit, I'm getting the books off the table and you're on a tripod, so do forgive me. Is something called Woman in the Wood. And this, like I say, is a very new book. I think it came out the end of the summer. And again, me and my mum have both read this. So me and my mum buy the books and then we both kind of read them. So this is... I get notifications from Amazon when a new book comes out by authors that I've bought before. So I'm going to... Oh, sorry. Oh, God, it's not going well, is it? I am sorry. Knocking you about. So I'm going to read you the blurb of this one as well. 15-year-old twins Maisie and Duncan Mitchum have always had each other until that fateful day in the wood. One night in 1960, the twins awake to find their father pulling their screaming mother from the house. She is to be committed to an asylum. It is, so their father insists, for her own good. Not long before, they too are removed from their home, their London home, and sent to Nightingale's, a large house deep in the New Forest countryside, to be watched over by their cold-hearted grandmother, Mrs. Mitchum. Though they feel abandoned and unloved, at least here they have something they've never had before: freedom. The twins are left to their own devices to explore, find new friends and first romances. That is until the day that Duncan doesn't come back for dinner. Nor does he return the next day or the one after that. When bodies of other young boys are discovered in the surrounding area, the police appear to have given up hope of finding Duncan alive. With Mrs. Mitchum showing little interest in her grandson's appearance, it's up to Maisie to discover the truth. And she knows just where to start. The woman who lives alone in the wood and whom there are so many rumours abound. A woman named Grace DeVal. If that doesn't entice you to want to read that book, I don't know what will, to be honest. That's one of the best blurbs I've ever read, and it makes me go cold. I've actually got goosebumps on my arm just from reading it, even though I read it and I know what goes on. So yeah, highly worth a read. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, I remember sitting in the garden in the summer reading this, and I read this. I mean, it's quite a thick book. Probably read this in about 2 weeks, and like I say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Did not expect what happened. I can remember I read so many books, so it is, you know, you do have to forgive me if I read that many. It is a very big plot twist. You would not believe what happens in this book, so highly recommend that. And this is Lesley Pearce, The Woman in the Wood, so highly recommend that one as well. Sorry about that, guys, my camera cut out. So my next favourite author that I've got down here is Dee Williams. She is what I would consider a very easygoing author. She is very, you can pick her up and put her down, her books. You don't feel obliged to read it in a hurry. And I know that sounds like I'm dissing her books, I'm really not. I love her books, and I've read a lot of them. They're just very easy books, you know, when you just feel like something easy going, and there's not as many plot twists as, say, a Lesley Pearce or a Rosie Goodwin. They're just quite relaxed books. They're quite a relaxed style of book. But she is one of my favourites, and two favourites of hers that I've read are Lights Out Till Dawn and Wishes and Tears. Lights Out Till Dawn was a war novel based in the Second World War about family living. Books are based in Rochdale in London, which is because that's where she's from. And this is the first book I ever read of hers, and I can specifically remember them singing in the Anderson shelter in the garden during an air raid, and just thinking about that makes me smile, because even though they were going through hell, they were singing, you know, like you probably wouldn't find us doing that today, you know, we'd be sitting there wailing and whining, but they sung, they played instruments, and they pulled together, which is why I love reading about the war, because we've lost that today, in my opinion. So yeah, I love her books, absolutely really enjoy them. Number 4 on my list is Maureen Lee. She's quite a new author for me. I have discovered her this year, basically. I bought one of her books in Tesco's about 2 years ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf and I haven't picked it up. And I remember picking it up one Saturday night because I'd finished my other book, and I thought, I'm going to give this a go. Luckily, it was the first part in a 4-part series, and it is about a street called the Pearl Street in Liverpool. Obviously it's a fictional street, and again it's set in the war, and it's about how the residents of that street cope with the war. Their husbands, their fiancés, their boyfriends, their beaux, that they used to call them back then, they're all going off to fight for their king and country, and the women are left at home to look after the children and the house and face their home being blown up every night without their man by their side. And it's sad, it was sad, but it was amazing the way it was written. And there's 4 parts to those books. The first one is Lights Out Liverpool, and like I say, it's about Pearl Street. Put Out the Fires is the second part. Through the Storm is the third part, and the fourth part, which is a bit different to the others because it goes forward to the millennium and then looks back on the Second World War and then comes back again. It sounds very weird to read, but it wasn't. It was written extremely well, and that is the 7 Streets of Liverpool, because it was based around Pearl Street, but there was 7 streets and they're all named after elements, so pearls, garnet, those kind of things, and it was a joy to read. And there's 4 parts in that, and I read that in a month, so I was averaging a book a week, and it was so good. Highly recommend that to anyone. And also, since that, I've read other Maureen Lee books which I've really enjoyed. After the War is Over, Stepping Stones, they are brilliant, very well read, very well read, yeah, I read them very well, very well written even, and a real joy to be a part of that journey. But as I say, I love that about the war books, because I feel like we wouldn't do that now. You know, if we was at war like that, you wouldn't find us singing in a shelter. It would be such a different atmosphere. But yet they were so adamant that they was not going to let Hitler win. He was not going to win. It was going to be, we are going to win, and this is how we're going to deal with it. And they all pulled together. And people were a lot closer than what we are now. And it's a shame. I feel like that part of it is a shame. The next, number 5, there's only one more after this, is Dilly Court. Dilly Court is, she was hit and miss for me. Some books I could get along with, some books I couldn't. But recently I've sort of settled into her way of writing a lot more. She writes 1800s, 1900s, so she is very historic. She's not war or anything like. She might mention the First World War, but it is pre-First World War, a lot of it, which is why I really enjoy it. You can just imagine the ladies walking around in their big crinolines, and like it's a good feeling. And the 2 that I most enjoyed by her were Ragged Rose, which I'm not going to go too much into, but The Button Box, which is quite a new one from her, and that's about a girl who works in a haberdashery shop to support her family. I think her parents died. You'll have to forgive me if I'm not 100% on this. Like I said, I do read a lot. Her parents died. She's got a disabled sister, or a cripple, as they would call you back then, and she has to support her. And she works in haberdashery. The lady that owns the haberdashery shop dies, and she leaves it to this young girl, can't remember her name, and she ends up having to sell it from debts, and then ends up owning her own haberdashery shop called The Button Box, and her whole family end up working there. And it's just a very lovely story of how she goes from virtually having nothing to having everything that she's ever dreamed of her own business, of a family, a partner. She's got the lot, and it's just a very life affirming story, the way she goes through the whole process. Highly recommend her. Like I say, it does take a while to get used to her. I found it did, because she is so historic. The times were so very different, very different, but brilliant. And like I say, she's what's wrong with me today? She has written so many books that there's a lot to choose from. The 6th one, and the last one, is quite a different one for me. It's not the normal genre of books. This is nothing to do with a historic novel at all. This is by an author called Peter James. He writes the Roy Grace series, which is a detective kind of style of book. But this book is called The House on Cold Hill. Now, this was featured on my Instagram. Peter James actually follows me, which is amazing, on Instagram, which is in the description, by the way, if you want to follow me, because that's where I do a lot of my book reviews and things like that on there. Which was incredible, because he actually replied to me when I photographed House on Cold Hill, and said he was so glad that I enjoyed it. And again, that's a book that all 3 of us have read, me, my mum and my dad, and it was given to me by my dad, and he said, just read it, you'll love it. And he was right. I loved it. It's about this house on Cold Hill, and it's highly haunted, and I mean highly haunted, and a family are going to move in, it starts with, and they pull up outside the house and the ceiling tiles fall, the roof tiles fall onto their car and kills them all. And so obviously it's up for sale again, and then these other people move in, and there are some weird stuff going on, and I mean weird stuff, and he can't work out why, and he thinks that it's all in his head, and it's not happening, but it is happening, and the ending is really good as well, and it is a fantastic book. And actually Peter James announced on Instagram last night that he is writing a sequel to this, which I'm so excited about, and it will be out in 2019, and I cannot wait. And I got a like by him this morning for my comments saying yes, so excited, can't wait to read this. It was an amazing book and I loved it. So that's it, basically. There's my top 6. If you want a bit more information about why I read, and why I read so much, then if you want a dedicated video on that, then I don't mind doing that. Just let me know in the comments, let me know on Instagram, and I will film that for you, because there's quite a lot of parts to that. I have some notes here, but I don't want to go on for too long because it's already quite a long video, but I am more than happy to film that for you. I am getting around to filming my chronic illnesses video, which will be split into 2 parts, but I'm a bit nervous about filming that just purely because it's quite a heavy, serious video, and I'm not sure how people are going to take it. I will film it, but I'm a little bit nervous about putting it up, so let me know how you feel about seeing that. Is it something you want to see? Do you want to know all the illnesses and problems that I've got, or would you rather just me not tell you and you just know that I have them? How do you feel about that? Give me some feedback, please. So like I say, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it, because like I say, it's been on my list. So if you could like, subscribe and share, that would be fantastic. My Instagram's linked or will be listed in the description. Hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.